In 1923, in Germany, carrying money in a wheelbarrow was not an exaggeration. It was the only way to carry enough to buy a single loaf of bread. Children played with bundles of banknotes because the money was worth less than the toys it could have bought. What had happened to Germany? How did an entire nation reach this point? Today we tell the story of the greatest destruction of a currency in modern history. A story of war, humiliation, despair, and the consequences that shaped the 20th century. To understand the hyperinflation, we need to go back to the beginning of World War I in 1914. Germany entered the war with confidence. Its leaders believed it would be a quick victory, a matter of months. But the war lasted 4 long years, and it cost dearly, in lives, in resources, in money. To finance the conflict, the German government made a fatal decision. It stopped backing the mark with gold and began printing money without limit. The logic was simple. Win the war first, pay the debts later, with reparations from the defeated countries. In November 1918, Germany lost the war. Soldiers came home defeated. The German Empire had collapsed, and in place of the Kaiser, the fragile Weimar Republic was born. In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles imposed devastating conditions on Germany. Germany lost territories. Its armed forces were drastically reduced, and most devastating of all, it was forced to pay war reparations equivalent to 132 billion gold marks, a sum that the German economy, already destroyed by war, could never repay. The early years of the Weimar Republic were chaotic. Rising inflation, unemployment, political revolts in the streets. The government kept printing money to pay its internal debts, and with every note printed, the mark lost value. In January 1923, the fatal blow came. Germany delayed its war reparation payments. In response, France and Belgium militarily occupied the Ruhr, the industrial heart of Germany. The Ruhr was responsible for 80% of German coal and steel. With the occupation, production stopped. The German government ordered passive resistance. Ruhr workers were to stop working for the occupiers. And to pay these idle workers, the government did the only thing it knew how to do. It printed even more money. What followed was an uncontrollable spiral. In January 1923, one American dollar was worth 4,200 marks. By November of the same year, it was worth 4.2 trillion marks. Prices doubled every few days, then every few hours. By the end, every few minutes. Workers were paid twice a day, and ran immediately to spend it before the money lost even more value. A loaf of bread that cost 250 marks in January 1923 reached 200 billion marks by November. Restaurants stopped printing menus because prices changed before customers finished eating. Burning banknotes became cheaper than buying firewood to heat the house. The middle class was destroyed. Decades of savings evaporated overnight. Those who had money in the bank woke up with nothing. Retirees who had saved enough to live comfortably discovered their life savings could not even buy a newspaper. Meanwhile, those with debts rejoiced. Debts lost value along with the money. Clever speculators bought factories, land, and property with money that was worth less and less. The black market flourished. People returned to barter, trading food for clothes, services for cigarettes. In the cities, hunger spread. In rural areas, farmers stopped selling food for money because money was worthless. Economic chaos fed political chaos. Extremist groups from left and right fought in the streets. The Weimar Republic seemed on the verge of collapse. It was in this context that a young obscure politician from Munich gained notoriety, blaming the government and foreign powers for the destruction of Germany. In November 1923, at the height of hyperinflation, a coup attempt was made in Munich, the so-called beer hall putsch. It failed, but the ground was being prepared. The German government finally acted. New Chancellor Gustav Stresemann took drastic measures. In November 1923, a new currency was introduced, the Rentenmark. 1 Rentenmark equaled 1 trillion old marks. The printing of money was stopped. Surprisingly, it worked. Within weeks, the hyperinflation stopped. Prices stabilized. Life returned to normal, at least for a while. The following years, from 1924 to 1929, brought relative prosperity. Germany recovered, but the scars remained. The middle class never recovered what it had lost. Trust in the government and its institutions had been shattered. When the Great Depression arrived in 1929 and unemployment exploded again, Germans had no patience left for democracy. In 1933, a dictator came to power through votes. The hyperinflation of 1923 had destroyed the people's faith in the system and opened the door to what came next. The world paid an incalculable price for that chain of events. The legacy of German hyperinflation shaped the global economy to this day. It was because of Weimar that modern central banks have controlling inflation as their primary mission. The German central bank, the Bundesbank, became the most conservative in the world. Germany's obsession with monetary stability comes directly from the trauma of 1923. When Germany agreed to give up the mark to create the euro, one non-negotiable condition was that the European Central Bank have absolute price stability as its primary mandate. And yet, the lesson was not learned by all. In Zimbabwe in 2008, in Venezuela in 2018, the same script repeated. Governments printing unbacked money, destroying their currency, and with it the lives of millions. Today, when governments around the world debate money printing, economic stimulus, and inflation, the shadow of Weimar still hangs over the conversation. The story of German hyperinflation is not just about absurd numbers. It is about what happens when trust in a currency and in a government completely disappears. It is about families who worked their entire lives and watched everything vanish in months. About a society that lost not just money, but hope. And about how economic despair can open doors that should never be opened. Have we learned? The signs are everywhere for those who care to look. History does not repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes with disturbing frequency. If you made it this far, leave a comment below.